Grace and peace, and welcome back to Reflections of Womanhood. Today we continue our journey with another daddy girl, or girls, Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah. The phrase sister wives usually refers to multiple women married to one man. But how did that happen with daddy's girls? And more importantly, how did things eventually work out? Leah and Rachel were daughters of Laban, the brother of Rebekah, who was Jacob's mother. Rabbinical interpretation suggests that Leah was originally expected to marry Jacob's brother Esau, but Esau was known for his idolatrous lifestyle and was considered unfit to carry on the family's spiritual heritage. As a result, Leah had no suitors. She lived in the shadow of her younger sister Rachel, who was described in Scripture as beautiful in form and appearance. Meanwhile, Jacob had already created family conflict of his own. With the help of his mother Rebekah, Jacob had deceived his father Isaac in order to receive the birthright blessing that belonged to his brother Esau. When Esau discovered what had happened, he threatened to kill Jacob. So Jacob fled to his uncle Laban's house. There, Jacob met Rachel and fell deeply in love with her. He agreed to work for Laban for 7 years in order to marry Rachel. But there was a complication. According to custom, the older daughter had to marry before the younger daughter. At the end of the 7 years, the wedding took place. However, Laban deceived Jacob. During the wedding night, Jacob unknowingly consummated the marriage with Leah instead of Rachel. When Jacob discovered the deception, Laban offered him another agreement. If Jacob worked an additional 7 years, he would also give him Rachel as a wife. Jacob agreed, and 1 week later, he married Rachel as well. This created a complicated household. Rachel was deeply loved by Jacob, but she was unable to have children. Meanwhile, Leah gave birth to 4 sons. Jealousy grew between the sisters. In desperation to have children of her own, Rachel gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob as a wife, and Bilhah bore him 2 sons. Leah then responded by giving her servant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife, and Zilpah also bore him 2 sons. Leah later gave birth to 2 more sons and a daughter. Eventually, Rachel finally conceived and gave birth to a son named Joseph. Later, she would give birth to another son, Benjamin. However, the rivalry between the family did not end. Jacob favored Rachel's sons over Leah's sons, and that favoritism created deep resentment. Leah's sons became so jealous of Joseph that they plotted to kill him. Instead, they sold him to Midianite and Ishmaelite traders. Generations after Hagar and Keturah, their descendants were playing a role in the unfolding story. Those traders took Joseph to Egypt, and what appeared to be betrayal, tragedy, eventually became part of God's plan. Joseph rose to power in Egypt, and he ultimately saved his family during a time of famine. There was so much more to this story, but it reminds us of an important truth. No matter what our ancestors experienced, no matter what family conflict may exist, God can still bring good from painful circumstances. As Joseph himself later said, "But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive." That's Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. Grace and peace.